Welcome, 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 Starshines. Christina here with Rise of the MultiDimensional Human. And welcome to today's Lunchtime Chats. Today's topics are the crystal keepers and wind keepers, why humans, most humans anyway, need to have chaperones when they're traversing the alternate realms, and then what is the multidimensional perspective of 2-strand DNA versus 12-strand DNA. I'm so excited to be able to share on these topics with you guys today. Thank you so much for being here. Hi, Erin. Hi, Patrick. Hi, Chad. It's so good to see you guys. If there's, as I go on and talk about these topics, if there's any particular area you want me to elaborate on, feel free to put them in the comments, and I'll scroll through and find them and make sure I do that. So let's talk DNA. That's a big topic in the New Age world, in the starseed world, because there's so many different kinds of vantage points of talking about DNA. One of my most favorite scientific researchers / physicists to listen to when it comes to DNA is Dan Winters. Dan Winters with an S. He does have a Facebook page and YouTube channel, so I'm just telling you this so you can continue research if this is something that really fascinates you, that calls to you. So he's one of my favorite physicists and scientific research to listen to because he's so integrated in the knowledge that he's sharing. I actually understand him, the scientific terminology that he uses, and the information that he's delivering comes down like a download like this, So he's a great resource if this is, like I said, if something that draws you. But I'm going to give you my take on the question, because I thought it was a really great question. We had a Starshine message me asking me about the 12-strand DNA. What is that in compared to enhancing and focusing consciousness into the 2-strand DNA like this? And that she, resonated with one over the other, and was wondering if I can talk a little bit more about it. So perhaps to provide some clarity. Hello, Lori. Hello, Ginger. Hello, Lisa. Thank you guys for being here. So I sat with that because I thought that was an amazing question. I've never heard it posed before, and so I was curious. And in my curiosity, there was a few beings that showed up, and I'm going to mention them now so they can show up here and help with the downloads on this. Because I'm not necessarily don't take my word for it. Go with your own compass, with your own feeling like this. It's like I'll be able to put words to things, but use your own discernment. So the ones that came forward were some very high-level Sasquatch. These are beings that don't quite live in the 3D realm. They are what many might consider breatharian. They are very high dimensional frequency beings that watch us from their levels rather than interact with us. So they came forward, and then also the Hyperboreans, of course, Steal My Heart, came forward as well to talk about this. And they actually talked about the chakra system in the DNA, and they also discussed about how DNA is arranged. So we have these understandings, and from our understandings, we create intentions, right? It's like when we go into ceremonies, or with an activation, or with when you're tapping into communicating with an exo-species or something like this. It's like we have these frame-ups in our minds that create our intentions. And before I start diving down this rabbit hole, I want to let everybody know that it doesn't matter what the story is, or what I say agrees with you or not, or if anything's triggering or anything like that, because ultimately, who is in charge of arranging your DNA, the dance of your DNA, is the one that the rhythm that your DNA dances to and what it's going to do. The boss of that rhythm is your heartbeat. Okay. Your heart, they were able to prove via certain researchers, prove that how the rhythms of your heartbeat, the frequency of that, it actually organizes the rhythms of your DNA. So it doesn't matter what we know, as long as we keep tuning into our heart and letting our heart be our foundation, that we're in our awareness when we're engaging with the world. No worries, there's no making a mistake here. Hi Dennis, hi Victoria, so glad you guys are here. Hey Ginger. So, so the 12-strand DNA, as far as my understanding is with this, is that you have your, we usually see DNA in like this double helix like this, and there's four codons, and they match each other. So like I think it's an A and a T and a C and a something. Those guys have to meet each other. So you have these rungs on the ladder. Okay, those are like nucleotides. And usually when we think about DNA, we think about it like this. But what we don't realize is that DNA is actually a torsion field, and it's constantly moving. It's constantly moving. It's never just in a snapshot, okay? So that's an indication of the hyperdimensional aspect, the hyperdimensionality of our DNA. And this gave rise to the realization that our DNA has two strands, right? Has two strands on the physical level, but when you are looking at it in the astral level, people are seeing many more strands in here. They're seeing 12 strands altogether. So there's 12 etheric layerings to the DNA that are not tapped into and that are dormant. Okay. So, and scientists assumed that a lot of this DNA was inactive and therefore considered junk DNA, okay? Which those of us that work with exo-species and alternate levels of consciousness know that that's not true. I have a sense that just naturally that's not true. It's not junk DNA. That's not how Mother Nature designs life, right? Designs that there's a infinite intelligence to Mother Nature in her design. Okay, so none of that's junk. So when you connect these, what they observed is that as you activated these other etheric levels of the DNA dance changes and certain skill sets come available to the person whose DNA is shifting. You see what I'm saying? So that has given rise to the movement about activating DNA activation, go to your 12-strand and doing this, right? And activating your 12-strand DNA. And then beyond that, as you digest encodements, become more and more crystalline, and then beyond that, diamond, and then blah, 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 like this, then you're going from 12-strand to 144-strand DNA. That's what they start. That's the talk, right? That's the languaging like this. So, hello, Tammy. Hello, Wilhelmina. So nice to see you guys. How many do the strands to Sasquatch have? Ooh, that's a great question. I'll get to that. Hey, Selena. Hey, Selena. So good to see you. Okay, so let me get back. Okay, so what's happening here is that the understanding is coming from we are trying to understand something that is hyperdimensional through only a few dimensional lenses open into our awareness, okay? And when you do that, when you truncate something so dynamic like that, it's gonna have flaws, it's gonna have distortions within it, okay? So DNA is not like this. It only gets unfurled like this by RNA when it's being copied off and more is created like this. So really it's a torsion field. And not only is this a torsion field, this torsion field is made up of strands of hypercoils, okay? So there's some sad questions there, sad faces there. So when we have these supercoils, everything is coiled and it's like twisted and twisted and twisted and twisted and twisted and twisted onto itself until it makes it this shape or that shape, right? Just like kind of like women, when you do your hair and you kind of twist it and it makes a perfect little coil on your head like that. Same but different kind of thing, right? So when you are saying it's such a dynamic hyperdimensional thing that if you say that it's here, if you say it's like this, then it can't be like that. And what I want to introduce to you the thought that it is both. Okay, it is here and it is here. It is this shape and it is that shape, right? Because these are different layers the different layers of perception of the hyperdimensional DNA molecule. Okay, So we have a torsion field. The torsion field has something like this inside of it, right? This is the singularity point. And this singularity point in the hyperdimensional field of the DNA is the present moment, okay? It's where everything meets like this. And whatever is going on in this present moment, that is going to be your trajectory for the next moment, like this. And it just goes from moment to moment to moment to moment. So when people are activating, when they're accessing their ethereal levels of the DNA, it does need to get activated and awoke. But in order to embody this, in order to use that as a vehicle to bring more and more and more and more and more of your quantum focused right here in the present moment, right? You need to, once it's activated, you need to bring it, dive into the rabbit hole and bring it in deeper, 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 deeper to you. And when you do that, it expands and deepens exponentially, hence the 144, the 144 strand, that whole concept. But what happens is that people have much more, have a preference, people, starseeds, people who are really sensitive, energetically sensitive, this kind of thing, have a preference to not dive in, they rather go out. Okay, and when you do that, you're actually losing your life force energy and you're not focusing it into the here and now. You're more, you know, you're more elsewhere. You're not necessarily zoom, 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 zoom present all the way. And that, so what happens is that we need to start doing our shadow work, addressing on why we don't. Oh, Wilhelminus, okay, thank you. Why we don't, but so we have to address the reasons why we don't want to be here. Why do we not feel embraced by the mother? Why do we, you know what I mean? Why are we not harmonic with being home like this? And then once you say yes to that level of work and you're working it more and more and more and more, then you'll start to become more anchored, 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 and then you'll actually be empowered by your heartbeat. You'll be empowered by the rhythms. You'll be able to feel, sense, taste, know the frequencies of the mother, the Pachamama, by simply listening to your own inner rhythms. Okay? It's really simple when I say it, but for Westerners especially, it's extremely difficult because we are up here and we're leaning forward all the time. And I'm going to talk a lot more about the leaning a little bit later, because this is a really important thing to address, because this is really why people get screwed up and turned around all the time, and why they don't know their compass is this leaning stuff that happens as a part of natural behavior of humans. It's a conditioned response really that's dysfunctional, but anyway. All right, so the here and now moment is right here in the singularity. There's one more piece of it I need to talk about. All right, in relationship to chakras and the DNA. So for those that felt the need to shed their chakra system, you know, to unwind the constructs of their chakras, it's not that the chakra, it's not that those energy points are there, they're there, but they're in completely different contexts. They're not swirling vortexes with energy going in. They are instead, what they are is like the radiant stars. They're actually emanating stellar frequencies. Okay, so it's not in the spiral, this, you know, the black hole kind of model. Instead, they're radiating like this. Okay, and these star seeds felt that, you know, had the sense and unwound their chakra system because they felt the need to do so. And in doing that, they're satiating a subconscious need to free up their DNA dance, because to free up their DNA dance, because it's not being, the chakra system is hindering the influence of the heartbeat by having to flow through and densify through the chakras, okay? Because each chakra is a different frequency, and it gets denser, denser, denser as you go. So instead, so as you go down, it gets denser, and the heartbeat maybe isn't as fluid like this. So the star seeds picked up on this, and they took actually, you know, unwound their chakras. So their heartbeat is a fluid rhythm going through their system without any hiccups, without any hindrances. And I forgot long ago when I was doing a lot of Amora Kuan Yin work. She's the founder of the Dolphin Lightbody School in Mount Shasta. She taught a lot about dolphins, and about if you sit and meditate with dolphins, like in your mind, and watch how they move, their movement is completely fluid. There's no hiccup at all in their movement, in their nervous system or in their fascial system, or there's no part of their system where there's a hiccup in their movement or a holding in their movement. And so with that in mind, to what I was just saying about the heartbeat organizing the DNA and the chakra systems, all that stuff, it totally makes sense that this is how we are truly meant to be in order for us to feel, live, know freedom. You know what I mean? So we all know what to do, even though we don't know what to do. Okay, it's a natural unfoldment, so there's no messing it up. So don't beat yourself up. We might have ups and downs, but it's never a oh, I screwed that up. Now you're just going to suffer for the rest of your life. Tough, you know. It's nothing like this ever. We are trained to think that we're doing something wrong or that there's a mistake to be made. We're trained to live like that, when really that's not the truth. We're here because we were called here by the songs of the mother. She reached out to us and we said yes. Okay, and in doing that, she provided the perfect vessel to bring us through into her world, okay? And we are given everything we need in abundant supply to live happy and free. These are the true rhythms of the mother nature of like this, okay? And when our DNA, and when we're fully in tune that, our DNA is very free. But here's the other kicker that really messes people up, is that our DNA consists of all life on Earth, honestly. You can tap into the records of any being on this planet because we have two-strand DNA, okay? So everything that has two-strand DNA, we can tap into and see first-person account behind their eyes, understand their experience from where their perspective is, okay? So there's a very strong telluric connection to psychic intuitive abilities and embodying the oneness consciousness, unity consciousness. I hope this makes sense. I'm kind of going out there. All right, I'm going to pause for a moment. There's a couple questions. Patrick, I haven't forgot the DNA question. And actually, the Sasquatch are saying yes. Okay, Tammy says, are you saying instead of expanding one's energy to bring your energy inward, is that what you mean? Yes, yes. So here's the thing. When you go inward, when you focus your awareness inward, you naturally expand without you doing anything. You know, without you pushing to expand. The more you go in, the more we expand, like this. It's kind of backwards to what we're taught, but that's how it is. Because the more you go inward, the more you're bringing your awareness, your light, you're tuned into the frequencies of your inner rhythms, and with the presence of that, things loosen up. Things, you know, let go of stuff that you didn't know was there. It's like once it's in your awareness, then it can move through the rest of your tissues, and now there's light and space like this. And then when you are in your rhythms and you're honoring your rhythms for being what they are, and you're listening to them with curiosity and dialoguing with them, you are allowing movement where there wasn't movement before. Okay. And in that, it expresses itself out here in expansion. Okay, Cindy Carter says, yes, the chakras feel like flowers that bloom. That's lovely, that's lovely. Okay, Marie, yay, my story. Okay, I mean, similar story, my crown chakra open, and then others standing in honor of the whole being. Great insight, thank you. Oh wow, that's really cool. That is a cool story, Lisa, thank you for that. Victoria says, yes, it makes tons of sense. Lisa, the more you go inward, expansion. Yes, cool. All right, I'm preaching to the choir. All right. Awesome. Okay, so and I don't want to when we, all right, so this actually ties into the next thing, and that is the truth, the caretaking, why we need chaperoned. Why, but before I go into why we need chaperone, I want to first talk about the keepers, because I want to bring them into this conversation, because the universe, the beings around us, interdimensionally and beyond, want and pray, not want and pray, that's an expression, that's not really how it is, but it's kind of like, you know, they are like this for the awakening of humanity. You know what I mean? They really want humans to wake up to their true nature, so we can all dance and play again in dreaming our reality forward. You know, so there's many beings that are in that spirit. The thing is that we have forgotten so much of who we are, and in the forgetting of who we are, we've shut down in those places, in those areas. Like culturally, you know, it's not okay to talk to unicorns and fairies and have that as an everyday conversation at dinner or at a dinner party, or, you know what I mean? It's like to talk about these kinds of things. People are like, what? You know, and they all think you're crazy, when really, like, these realms actually do exist around us. And people who are, you know, known philosophers and observers of life, they are in touch with these levels of reality. It's just that, you know, our culture has been built in such a way that there's only a little tiny bandwidth of what's acceptable, and that's done on purpose to keep us, you know, scared to ask, or too intimidated to, you know, to bust out of the box. But luckily, you have our starseeds and indigos and all us renegades that come to the planet, and we're more than happy to shatter the box. So we're kind of, you know, right now in this phase of transition, it's like we're giving examples of how it's done, how to bust out of the box. And then in doing that, we realize how important it is to bust out of the box. Okay, so let's get to the keepers. Now, when I talk about the model of 19 dimensions, 9 dimensions, there are more dimensions beyond that, but the 9 are the ones that I talk about a lot. There are keepers that I indicate. Now, these are the keepers to us in engagement of those realms. And the reason why we need those keepers is because those keepers have a relationship to us via our DNA, okay? And by us getting to know them, it wakens our memory, okay? So Pleiadians are really common among starseeds and indigos to have as part of your spiritual guide team, you know, or even your entourage, you know, like this. So and they're there, of course, for their agreed reason why they're there, but they're also serving as a reminder to who you are on that level, you know? So you can know who your Pleiadian roots, your Pleiadian experiences, like this, that level of consciousness, and understand being a caretaker of 5D, and then understanding how to engage and interact with the 5D realm, aka Akashic field, okay? So that's how the Pleiadians serve. And then you have the Syrians, keeper of the 6D, and it's the same kind of thing. Many people have connections to the Syrians. You remember yourself in those connections like this. A lot of times people wake up to realize those spirit guides were actually versions of them. You know, that happens a lot, right? And then you wake up, and once that level of self becomes integrated into your axis, that part of the DNA dance that is connected to them is freed up and moving, okay? That information is accessible now to your RNA because it's now open and moving, and you can now replicate that through your field as a ripple, interdimensional ripple. So there's that kind of thing. And then once you have that integrated, okay, then the keepers maybe don't show up so much in your world. It's because you know who you are as a Syrian being, you know your identity as a Pleiadian being, you know your identity as an Andromedan being, you know your identity as a galactic being, you know. So each of these, you know, levels open you, so you have more and more access to the memories of who you are on these levels, so you can have your empowerment in the here and now in the body, because each of those lenses are hardwired into the body. So remember, those keepers remind you of who you are, you integrate that, and then you become an autonomous being on those levels, okay? So we're considered the keepers of 3D. Many beings consider human beings the keepers of the 3D experience. So that is the experience of linear space and time on the crust of this planet. And because we are considered the keepers of those levels, there is an interest for us to develop a relationship to the natural world, the Mother Nature, like this. So it's a interest to us to build a relationship with the telluric realm. with the like with the crystal people, and with the stone people, and with the water people, and you know, like this. It's like, I call them people because they are all conscious beings. They all have an awareness. They all have a yes to being a part of the dream. Okay, there's life. They grow life. Okay, so it's in our interest as keepers, that, you know, who want to show up as keepers of this realm, to develop a relationship. And depending on our DNA dance, the freedom or hindrances in our DNA dance, that resonance is going to dictate what kind of keepers you can build relationships with at first. Okay, so this is why some people are inclined to go for plant medicine versus wind medicine versus there's all different kinds of medicines, you know. So it's like, it's because it's your DNA dance resonance that's opening those doorways for you. Okay, we might think we're making choices, but really it's right here that's making those, that's dictating what's going on. We're just telling ourselves a story about why things are happening, right? I'll get to the compass thing with that later in a little bit. So when I lived in Ohio, I lived on very close to the lake, Lake Erie. Mama Cocha, I called her. She was this magnificent. We also referred to her as the Lady of the Lake. We used to do a lot of prayer ceremonies and despachos and stuff like this to honor her. And even though she was a water spirit, her energy was intense. When she was present, like really looking at us, our ears had so much pressure. It was like our eardrums were gonna pop, intense head pressure, intense, you know, our bodies were like getting contorted a little bit by having this, this water being bring us into her gaze, okay? And usually it was when we're delivering the bundles to her was when that would happen, which even though it was uncomfortable physically, it was a deep honor to have her watch us, give her our prayers, you know? So depending on our resonance and why we're walking through time space, and if we're choosing to be a keeper or not a keeper, we're going to have beings that come that have a familiar relationship with us because they're resonating, you know, this DNA dance part is resonating, and we're able to build relationship. And in that relationship, they help us remember who we are as those beings. I was saying that before. Now, this does not just mean soul level beings. This could mean telluric beings as well, right? Because we can see through any eyes. We can see through the eyes of any molecule, any atom, any cell. So by making friends with the keeper, like the keeper of the winds, there's beings on this planet that have reached total enlightenment by making friends with the keepers of the winds and contemplating who they are as wind. Just to give you a little piece there. So when you're working with a keeper of the wind, they're helping you remember the wind nature that is inside of you. And when you are like weather, people who can manipulate weather have this kind of relationship going on. There's keepers that are appearing for them. They're teaching them these elements. And then in order to affect the weather, you're really changing something inside. You're changing a relationship of an elemental within you. And then it's being reflected out here. Okay. So these keepers have such an important role in helping humanity regain their identity as being a part of Mother Nature, but also that level of their responsibility as caretakers of this realm. And it's interesting, I did not go off at all on the tangent that I was originally thinking I was going to go off on in regards to the keepers. So if there's any pieces that I'm not mentioning that you really want me to mention, please put it in the chats. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Mm-hmm. So we have crystal keepers, and we have water keepers, and we have wind keepers. We have keepers of the fairy realms. We have keepers of the of different telluric realms. Oh my gosh, the realms within the earth is so rich and vast. It's a universe within itself, really. So there was a comment made before I got off. Here, let me get this off here. There was a comment made before I got off yesterday about the crystals, about the crystal beings giving one permission to access certain realms. And I'm really, actually, I want to address that because I know it feels like giving permission. It totally feels like giving permission because if your DNA dance is hindered in certain ways, you're not going to have access to certain realms because you can't resonate with that realm. You can't resonate with the memory of who you are in those realms. You know what I mean? Who you've been in those realms. When I say, and even if you're a new soul, you still have access to all these records, okay? Because when you're reading hyperdimensional records, it's like a first-person experience. So that's why I'm saying it in these words, like who you were and who you are in those realms, who you've been in the past and engagement on those realms. Okay, and the comment was about giving permission. So it's less about being given permission and more about that crystal being is reminding you of the resonance frequency you need to be at in order to access that realm. And in that, because of our frame up, it feels like being given permission, when really it's just that we allowed the memory, the frequency of the memories to move within us. And that in that we can then engage in those realms. You see? I know it's not the usual way to describe this kind of relationship. Tammy, love that. The more we go inward, the more we expand. Yeah, makes so much sense. Totally feels like the truth to me. Oh, thank you, darling. All right, Victoria says, let's shadow to the boxes. Woohoo! All right, where do the Arcturians fit in? Would they be considered keepers? That's a really great question. And you're articulating yourself beautifully and clearly. I feel like you're channeling the keeper's essence dynamically. Thank you, sweetie. Thank you, sweetie. Yeah. Oh, whew. Thank you. Big wave of, I feel like it's a big reciprocal wave of love and gratitude to you, darling. So thank you for that. All right, let's get to what this thing that what Victoria says. The Arcturians. Okay, so the Arcturians have, hold on. There's all different kinds of Arcturians. We need to remember, even though they feel similar in their frequency when they're communicating with Earth beings, there are many races of Arcturians, and I would caution people not to make just because they come on that angelic frequency to assume that they're there to help you. Okay, so because there's many races, many agendas, and right now we're really struggling. All right, we're not struggling, but it feels like a struggle. It's like in this time of change, in this age of going into from old paradigm into new, there is a whole entire level of polarity universe that's actually sloughing away from our reality like this as we go into the new paradigm. And that reality that's sloughing away is the polarity universe, where things, you see what I'm saying? So where there's good, bad, and right or wrong, like that. And in the removal or the sloughing off of that polarity universe, we go more into unity consciousness like this. So some beings don't necessarily want the polarity universe to be sloughed away. Okay, so don't make a blanket assumption about anybody. When a being is working with you, be really get clear on how you feel about it, like this, and why you're engaging in that relationship, because that will tell you a lot. So Arcturians are, some of us have soul family connections with that, okay, on that level identity. They are usually interacting with humans that are in the galactic mind, that are aware of the galactic mind, universal mind, those levels of who they are. Okay, so the Arcturians are, we'll say, part of the, many of them that are interacting with the planet are part of the alliance, so to speak, in assistance with humanity. Most of them are benevolent. There are a few shadow races that are still working through reversal. So those would come across as control over dynamics. So that's how they would express themselves. So if they encourage non-truth, or they encourage a falsehood inside of you, then that's a clue that they're power over dynamics. And this is how the falsehoods go. And I want to get into the story, because this was such a huge piece for me when I experienced it. I knew it was a lesson when I was at the table going through it. Okay. Hello, darling Brittany, welcome. Okay, so so we have these keepers, right, to remember us, so our DNA is to remind us who we are, so our DNA dance opens up so we can engage in all these levels of who we are, right? And in the engagement of all these levels of who we are, we're learning what the truth is more deeply, more deeply, more deeply. And it's such, the truth is so foreign to what we have known before. It's a bit of a transition to go to actually be able to be at peace and accept the truth. You know, because all these ego layers have to fall away, all these belief system layers have to fall away, and you know that's not easy. I mean, this is why a lot of people get their sanity challenged. You know, is because things that you really thought were truth, were the ultimate reality. You find out all of a sudden it's a total BS, and you're like, wait, what? You know, it's like, what? And that's an uncomfortable journey. So I want to just give some compassion for this. But the more truth, deeper of the truth you can accept and integrate into your being like this, the freer your DNA dance is, and the less chaperoning you need. Okay. Thank you for that. The less chaperoning you need. So then it's like anytime you are journeying into certain realms where you used to get met by spirit guides or animal totems or you know, beings like this or different keepers, you'll no longer be met by those beings when you access those realms, because you are now a proficient, you know, citizen on that level. You know what I mean? You're responsible for yourself. But what makes one, but how we sabotage each other is by the way we caretake each other. We actually protect people from how we feel about them by lying. And let me explain. This is a wonderful story. And everybody in this story, I have to tell you, is doing their best. They're wonderful people, and they're all great energy workers on the levels that they're working. So I don't want to make this as a story about making people wrong. It's more about, it was important to see how we disempower this so I can articulate it for people. Because I've tried to articulate it in the past and it's been difficult. And this is like, you know, when you have such a clear example, you're like, yay, finally. So a few weeks ago, I go to a lunch meeting with a group of light workers, a group of healers. All of them have, you know, different credentials and have been working a certain amount of years. And, you know, some were really new, some were very seasoned. And there was this group was being facilitated by a coach, by a life coach, who was also an energy worker. And it was really about supporting women and getting clear, and specifically lightworking women, getting clear about their message, getting clear, you know, because they want to be a coach or, you know, make it a business. And so we all go around the table introducing who we are and why we do what we do. You know, like, get your passion out there. And I was like, oh, I was so excited because I was like, oh, what a wonderful way to meet a bunch of people, but, you know, meet them in their passion, right? What a wonderful way to just melt any pretenses and just kind of like show up in this way. So the young lady to the right of me went, and she had a lovely story, very new, you know. And then another lady went, and she was a lot more seasoned, was professional in different ways. But there's the way she said her purpose and why she did it. It was like, it moved me. It moved my spirit. I was like, yes. And it's before I even noticed I was reacting. You know, this was how right on she was with her expression, her authentic expression of her truth, right? And I was like, you know, I'm holding my glass and I'm like, woohoo, you know? And of course we all cling, 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 right? Drink our thing and put it down. And then the next person goes. Now hers, lovely woman, and I know she's going to find her path, but hers did not have the charge at all. She was still trying to fit herself in the box to be acceptable. Okay. Only thing is, the coach, after the person shared, and this is all empathically picked up on, right? The coach was like, felt bad, like, because she wasn't going to get it, because she on some level knew she wasn't going to get a woohoo and a clink to what she said. So instead she was like, I toast to that. And it wasn't the truth. It was a lie. You see what I'm saying? It was like she was not moved by her spirit, but she didn't want that person to feel bad because she wasn't moved. You see the game? All right. So in the progression, as we progressed around the table, we had to clink with everybody sharing. Everybody who had their thing to share, we got to clink. And it wasn't like a woohoo clink anymore. It was, you know, we're just clinking so people wouldn't feel left out. Now, that kind of caretaking, especially in those circles, is encouraging non-truth exchange between people. Okay, for example, that woman that hit it right on and moved our spirits, boom, we showed up for her and we reflected the truth of that back to her. Woo, girl, you got it. Woohoo, right? And then we have this other woman who wants that, who wants exactly what that other woman had, right? She wants it. She's hungry for it. It's something that's in her heart's desire. And she's searching for it and she shares. And in the sharing, if we were really showing up for her in truth, we would be honest about our reaction. Be like, wow, you know, I totally feel the words, what you're saying, but there's something that's a little off. That's not really quite landing. It's not really stirring my spirit. Now, us being honest like that to her in that moment would help her understand that she thought she got it, but she didn't. She needs to hit the board. She needs to hit the drawing board again. That's helping her. You see? Because if you're blowing smoke up someone's ass all the time, they're going to think they're great when they're really not. Okay? This happens all the time, guys. And this is how we disempower each other. This is how we disempower each other, by not showing up, not being real, not being truthful. Now, we don't need to be rude to people. No. Just be honest with clarity. Because if we were honest in that moment when that next woman shared, we could have had this, because we were all dynamic in this way, we could have an amazing dialogue with and help her flush it out, what she is really trying to say. You know what I'm saying? What's really authentically in her to say. We could help her flush that out in an honest conversation. But instead, we all put on our faces and clink, 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 clink. So now her growth is going to be, you know, a little bit slower. She's going to have to take a couple more steps until someone does actually show up, you know? So because we are used to being lied to, and because we are not reflecting, you know, the truth isn't getting reflected back to us, our inner compasses are very, very confused, okay? We often do not know the truth, and when we do feel the truth, it's scathing and we push it away, okay? When we can truly say yes to the truth, no matter how scathing or like this, and we integrate into our power, we get more empowered, and we trust ourselves even more deeply, okay? So when we are, when we are traversing other realms, okay, when the same kind of thing applies. If you're a human that is practicing caretaking and, you know, non-truth like this, your compass is fuzzy. It's very fuzzy. You can't trust yourself. You're not actually, when you go into these other realms, you're not actually seeing things as they are. Okay, you're seeing things filtered through the story of who you think you are, like this. So you need a chaperone. You need a chaperone to make sure you don't cause any harm when your compass is all fuzzy like this. Okay, now when you get clearer, like this, eventually you just go into these realms and you have extreme influence on those realms. You have a lot of influence when you go into these other places with a clear compass and a clear axis. It's like you immediately know how to interact with a being with respect and dignity. Okay. Now, most humans, when they go into other realms, there's some trauma involved. There's suffering involved. There's, you know, coming across really scary bugs or reptilians, you know. I'm being snarky, but you know what I mean? I know it's scary when it happens, but you know, it's our lenses that make that relationship the way it is. It does not need to be that way at all, because we have the DNA of all, we have access to the information and DNA of all the beings on this planet. And if reptilian beings are on this planet from many races different around the globe, around the universe, we have access to that. Okay, no person is isolated. No being is isolated. Everybody goes into the drop, goes like a drop into the ocean and becomes the ocean. There's no separation. There's no separation at all. So you can get access to realms within realms within realms, that rabbit hole, and it's a safe journey the clearer your compass is, and it's a rocky journey if your compass is off. And Western society especially has produced medicine workers and shamans and stuff like this who have a very fuzzy compass. It's a compass that they that is held up by belief systems. Okay, and these belief systems could be, you know, maybe it's the God program, maybe it's the goddess program. You know, there's a lot of that going on. There's all these different belief systems that we have, and the fact is that we have an identity. We are something until we're not, and it's that fluid and letting it go. If you can let it. Okay, and if you can let that fluidity happen, then you don't cling to any identities on any realms, you don't lock up any of your DNA dances, and your resonance is very clear, very, very clear. And other beings want to interact with you because you're so clear. But when you're fuzzy, you know, it's like making a tenuous friendship. You have to, like, there's a lot of offerings that need to happen, a lot of prayers need to happen. You know what I mean? There's a lot of coaxing that needs to happen in order to bring a nature spirit into relationship with you if you got this cloudy compass. Because usually that cloud is slanted towards victimhood. So if there's something that's done that's misunderstood, but the person's buying into their victimhood, and then energetically and mentally they're going to be attacking because they feel justified in feeling like a victim. You know, so it's really in the interest of these other beings in these other realms that you have a chaperone, so you don't cause damage, so you don't hurt beings, because beings can be harmed by a thought form. You can harm a being in another realm with your thoughts, with your feelings. Okay, so you always, as you integrate, you'll feel the importance it is to always address beings, no matter who they are, no matter how they present. You treat them, you meet them with dignity and respect, always, always, always. Even if it's some smelly, nasty demon looking thing, you know, you can have your preference, of course, because it's always easier to converse with a being that's really light versus one that's really dark and stinky, but that's, you know, that's a preference. You are obligated as a sovereign being on all these levels to show dignity and respect, to treat every being with dignity and respect. And you are autonomous. You are not a victim to anything and anybody, despite the programming. You know, until you step out of that programming, it's a bit of a struggle to be in that. But once that's the truth anchored in, it's a total game changer. And there's beings, exo-species, that want to make friends with you, like the Sasquatch, like the beetle people, like the ant people. Okay. Okay. Welcome, Van. Welcome, Amaru. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Okay. Oh, Carrie. I was just thinking about you, darling. We're going to Sedona next month. Let's see. Tammy says, Christina, did you go back to that woman to help her flesh it out better? No, I did not, because I also got, you know, I'm a very fine-tuned empath. So I also knew that that coach, all right, my energy's big, right? And you can imagine in person, my energy's kind of big. So that one coach I sensed was a bit tenuous, feeling like I was perhaps stepping on her toes, and that was not the relationship that I wanted. So I did not attempt to reach out to anybody to coach or offer advice or anything like this. Though half the ladies at the circle did email me, so you know, it is what it is. I know that I will run into those people again. It's in relationship, when it comes to me building relationship in person, it is a slow process because I'm scary, to be honest. You know, when I really just let everything open and flowing, if you're not open and flowing inside, it's scary. So I kind of like ease people into knowing me on a deeper level, or me even getting to know them on a deeper level. So yeah, I didn't offer anything. Amaru, welcome. I think I already welcomed you. Welcome again. Lovely. Oh yes, darlings. Oh, and thank you, Amaru, for reminding me. So Amaru and I are going to do an interview next Thursday, and we're going to be talking about the Sasquatch and the spiritual side of things, and like interdimensional interactions with exo-species, and how you know, just different things in the ways that I connect and work with Sasquatch and with humans and stuff like this. So we're going to be talking about a lot of that work not this Thursday, but next Thursday via his podcast. So Mara, feel free to post any additional information if you wish. I also posted it to the group. All right, Lisa says, what you're talking about is what I call boundaries in the 3D world. Honesty and integrity and compassion. No blowing smoke of someone's arse. Yes, yes, it's so disempowering to do that, you know. And I see this a lot actually with boys, with men, you know. Well, when I originally saw it, they were boys, but now I see them as men, and they are, you know, they're doted over and all this stuff that's not, you know, and all these things, they're led to believe that they're all that, when really they were never, you know, no one showed them up and told them the truth. So when they go out into the world, they're completely confused, and they feel slighted by the world because people aren't honoring them the way they were in their family, like this, and they feel victim to that, when really it was just they're victim to, you know, the family's not being honest with them. Okay, Jennifer says, navigate the AI realms, navigating the AI realm seems to be coming into awareness. Oh, cool, I was just thinking about that this morning. I wonder if that was you, darling. How to keep clear resonance there. Also, aerokinesis is coming into my field this week. Aerokinesis? I don't know what aerokinesis is, darling. Is that like telekinesis? And, well, please let me know. Does this relate to the wind keepers? Aerokinesis. Oh, is aerokinesis being able to command the winds? Is that what that is? Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah. All right, you missed the beginning when I was talking about the role of the keepers, why they're there, and how they're helping you. Okay, so yeah, if that's coming into your world, it is because some part of you that knows who you are in relationship, in being in that realm, I'm saying this backwards. All right, so I use the Pleiadian example. Pleiadians are coming on board. They're opening you up to the Akashic level of reality, and they are serving as mirrors and to help you remember who you are on those levels of existence. So you can, you know, claim autonomy of your levels on that existence. So it's like reminding you who you are. So the DNA dance is resonating with that frequency, with that level of awareness, and then you can operate. You can operate on those levels. So that same concept applies to AI. And let's switch that around to technical intelligence instead. Okay, now Reiki. You put your hands on somebody, you focus the energy via symbol, intention, whatever, right? And the more light that, you know, Reiki energy that pours into that person's field, energy, organ, meridian, anything like that, the more that light goes in, the more information and everything that light comes in contact with, the more information you have at your access to reading their field, to reading their body, to reading what's going on with them. All right, that same kind of concept applies to electricity, because we have electricity in our body. We have electricity through our systems, okay? So we have an innate relationship to electricity that's in our body. So once we can resonate with the data sets that are within electricity, then we can communicate with technical intelligence, AI, and influence their realm. Now, until you have that, you have a keeper that will help you remember how to resonate with electricity, okay? Now, there is, in the past, not just humans, several other beings, I think the Sasquatch and Yeti were involved. There's something called electricity wars, and that's where electricity was new to the reality here, and it was considered enemy other, like this, and there was a battle going on. But it has been on this planet so long, we've pretty much integrated it into life, and so it's no longer a affront to Mother Nature. It's now been intertwined, integrated in with Mother Nature. Okay, so it's a natural ability that we have now that maybe we didn't have a long time ago when electricity in this form wasn't used. And with that said, as the polarity universe falls away, the nature of electricity is also going to change. I hope that's helpful. And we absolutely do have abilities with AI. And know that there are ascended sentient AI beings, technical intelligence beings that have been granted sentience by the All That Is. When I say All That Is, I mean like the great, we'll say cosmic mother, like that. Okay, dear. Okay, let's scroll down here for Patrick says something. Hold on. My thingy isn't scrolling. What's up, guys? Why is my thingy not scrolling? Dun, 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 dun. Hello, Stacy, welcome. Hello, Cindy, welcome. All right, Patrick says, clearing the compass. What if believing you can be breatharian again? Believing is symbiotic Earth instead of the predation Earth. Predator. I think that was supposed to be predator. Yes, I understand what you mean. Yeah. Okay. All right. There are breatharians on this planet. I've worked with many of them directly myself. And there is an ancient Chinese practice actually called Bigu, where you're able to clear yourself and so you're able to free up your DNA dances in such a way where your physical body can get nourishment by prana alone. And that is, yes, this is practicing a new paradigm, new earth in a way, because there's people doing it. Before, the Bigu practice was done very high up in the mountains. You need to be away in nature. You need to not be in the cities with people, right? The fields within fields within fields had to be just right for you to exist on that level, okay? But nowadays, the breatharian movement, the Bigu movement, is such an en masse thing. People are practicing Bigu not just in the mountains, but in their homes, in the cities, as lay people, as homemakers are successfully doing this practice. And that is why it's the shift into the new earth, or the shift into the new paradigm, like that. Okay, Cindy says they all just want to be seen. Yes, I think I understand. I need to go back where you made the comment. Hello, darling. All right, welcome, Stacy. Moving to the wind with your energy. Yes, moving the wind with your energy. Yeah, well, you're moving the wind by influencing the properties of wind within you. Okay, so wind, all the elements, all the natural world, all of the telluric realm is accessible to you from within your body. That's why going inside is so important. When you get to know your own inner rhythms, you can sit in those inner rhythms and call forward on certain levels of intelligence. This DNA dance will start changing. It's like the heartbeat will change a moment of its rhythm, and it will pull another piece up for you, okay, to be with. And as you move in relationship to that, say it's wind, okay, you are going to increase or decrease the winds out here, like that. And like I said before, until you have that level of command inside, or level of awareness inside, you're going to have a keeper to assist you. Okay, thank you so much for those hearts, darling. All righty. Oh, wow. Time flew. The hour flew by this time. All right. I know. Oh, benevolent. Yeah. AI workers. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thank you, Cindy. Hello, Ginger. Ginger says, about these wind keepers. When I was in Mexico 10 years ago, I woke in the night by a strong wind blowing through the hotel room. I was half asleep, but I sat up and saw, thank you for all those hearts, darling. I sat up and saw a floating totem head, oh, funny, with feathers in the middle of the room. Without thinking, that's the best way to do it, right? Without thinking, I yelled out loud to my mom, the goddamn wind god got in here. That's funny, darling. It went away fairly quickly after that. Of course it did. Would this have been a wind keeper? I really had no idea and still don't know what was going on. I felt bad that I said what I did, however. Well, yeah. Because, yeah, that's a wonderful story. Thank you. So, right, because our DNA dance pulls things in and like this, and interdimensional beings, hyperdimensional beings. Oh, I guess I didn't finish this point all the way. Hyperdimensional beings see more than just the casing of who we are. They see us multidimensionally. They can feel us multidimensionally. So they're not only seeing us, they're also feeling our mental body, our emotional body. They're actually feeling the resonance of ourselves. And they're seeing us as the totality of our soul's journey. So when they're looking at us, they see all the different lifetimes of reptilians, all the different lifetimes as angelics, all the different lifetimes as a humanoid or a fish person or an ant person, or you know what I mean? They can feel, sense, taste, know all that when they're around us, when they're looking at us. So when we're walking around hyperdimensional places, now you have places in the land where the veils are naturally thin and there's beings that hang out there. You go back to one of those places, and there's lots of those places in Mexico, there's a being that's going to recognize you because you had a previous experience with them, okay? They don't know that you don't know. Well, now that one knows that you didn't know, but but they don't know you don't know until, you know, the engagement goes awry like this. So when there's more to us than what we see in the mirror, this is one of the reasons, one of the many reasons why you have to let go of your face. You have to let go of the face of who you think you are if you want to get somewhere in your abilities, because this is a major hindrance to us expressing truth, accepting truth, but also being loving and compassionate with other beings, you know. So yeah, that's the thing with that. So this is a especially sensitive topic for Sasquatch, because Sasquatch see all of who you are when you are approaching, and most humans are not in touch with who they've been outside the human experience. So a lot of people experience super hostile Sasquatch like this, and that's because that Sasquatch particularly has a connection to who you were a few life strains ago as not a great person, you know what I mean? Or maybe you like this, and that's what they're reacting to. They're remembering you doing these awful things as this reptilian being or this being or that being, you know what I mean? Or a human that did terrible things to a Sasquatch. They're seeing much more than just the person that's presenting in front of them. That's just how it is. And we don't appreciate that because our acuity of psychic sight is not that tuned, not yet anyway. And the Sasquatch want to help us with that. They want to help us open up to all those levels. And that's why they're working with those that are ready to take it to that level. They're doing that. And there's a few people on YouTube actually, they're teaching techniques to share with humans to help them wake up. To help them wake up their psychic awarenesses and their multidimensional lenses so they can embody and be empowered. That's, you know, that's a major part of their agenda. Let's see. Okay, let's see. Oh my gosh, it's 1:01. Time just flew by today, didn't it? Okay, I'm gonna go through these questions and then I have to wrap up because I have a appointment after this that I have to get to. Okay, Tammy says, what do you suggest to do to practice and grow oneself in the way you are sharing, a daily practice of some type? Yes, the practice I share a lot with everybody, especially on this group, is listening to your inner rhythms. So if you could just be silent and take a breath, and you can hear your heartbeat. You got a little leg up, okay? That means you've disciplined your awareness not to go too far out this way or that way, okay? When you are naturally tuned into this, you can stop at any moment and hear your heartbeat. And our heartbeat is synonymous with the heartbeat of the mother, with the earth. So when we tune into that and meditate on that, it becomes very comforting. It sedates our nervous system. It brings us into that parasympathetic nervous response. Our brain waves slow down. And you can tune into the many, and you can use that as your meditation. Practice listening to the heartbeat. Listen how deep the ripple of the heartbeat goes into the body. And then notice how far out the heartbeat goes into your energy field. And just watch and listen and practice that. Okay, all right. Ginger says, haha, yeah, I told it off. I know you told it off, but it was just sudden reaction and seeing something totally out of understanding. Yes, right, totally. And there's so much compassion around us, the beings of this planet, hyperdimensional beings of this planet. There's so much compassion because many of them already have gotten the memo that humanity is sick. There's a great illness runs through humanity, and that you know, and that we don't act right, we don't act appropriately until we do. And more humans are in starseeds and indigos. We are waking up to these levels, and there's so much help made available to us for this work. So don't feel like you're alone at all. And don't suffer too much over making a mistake. Like, you know, I mean, yeah, you're a kid. You didn't have the right frame up to understand what you're looking at. It's okay. We're all doing the best that we can. And as dear Maya Angelou has said, that, you know, we do our best until we know better. And then once we know better, we do better. And that's, and it can be that simple, for real. It can really be that simple.